All right, we're recording.
Thank you. A quorum being present, I call this meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. on August 5th, 2026. Oh, one second. All right, welcome everybody to this regular meeting of the 911 Services Enterprise. As always, thank you for being here. We will start off with any discussion and or approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of July 6th and our special meeting on July 20th. Are there any comments, corrections, issues? Did everybody have a chance to look at those draft minutes? And unless there is any discussion, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Thank you, Lynn. Second.
A second.
Thank you, Amy. Any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none, those minutes are approved. All right, public comment. Public comments are limited to up to 15 minutes total, and each member of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on any topic relevant to the purposes of the enterprise. If any member of the public would like to speak, please indicate so now by raising your hand in Zoom to be called upon. After we address any raised hands in Zoom, we will then call for any additional comments from members of the public who have dialed in on a phone or might otherwise not have been able to indicate so on Zoom. Is there any public comment? Seeing no hands, is there anyone who is unable to raise their hand in Zoom? You can unmute and state your name to be recognized. All right, hearing none, public comment is closed. Financial update, Daryl or Lynn, what do you have for us today?
And I'm sorry, I have to apologize to Savannah. Sage, I have not been keeping up with these emails due to some activity at work, but I had thought from our last discussion about this that you all were going to be providing the financial update in terms of where what the revenues were and the expenses from the budget you see from Dora. Am I mistaken about that?
You all being
the PUC. I'm sorry.
So-
I think Daryl. I think Daryl had indicated that Jolene had the information, and it may be my miss on not reaching out to her to coordinate and get that set up.
Yes, this is Daryl. Sorry about the delay there. I was pulling up the spreadsheet that Jolene maintains. I have an ending fund balance at the end of June of $978,334.52. We should have July. I don't see that in here yet. I think because she tracks it by fiscal year. I don't think that tab has been built yet. But that's what it was at the end of June.
Okay.
And Daryl, can you tell from the spreadsheet, are we staying consistent or going up or down with the revenues coming in?
It varies. So we had, if you remember, the first couple of months of the year were lower than we expected. Then April came in much higher. So we were expecting around $200,000 a month. Both February and March were lower than we expected, but then April came in at $258,000, which is not unusual. We usually get some companies that take a couple of months to come into compliance. We do charge them late fees and interest penalty, so they're not getting off scot-free for just paying late. But that is typical for the state 911 surcharge from year to year. Then in May, it went down to 205,000, which is closer to what we were expecting. In June, it was 197,000, almost 198,000, which is still in the ballpark of what we were expecting. So I think it's probably stabilized at this point.
And what we can expect. So thank you. Maybe what I can do offline for the next meeting is just kind of put together a template that we can share that has the key numbers in there that we can pop up and read out on.
And this is Daryl. I think that's a good idea, and feel free to reach out to Jolene to
Okay.
put together an ongoing spreadsheet that you think would be best for the board to look at. I can show you the spreadsheet I'm looking at right now, but it probably wouldn't mean a whole lot to you because there's a lot of extraneous information on here.
Yeah, or maybe similar to what I tried to figure out in the whole budgeting process when she shared some things. So, okay, I'll do that. I'll reach out to Jolene. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from board members? All right. Connie, any update or information to share from the 911 Resource Center?
Okay, probably the really good stuff is the first phase of the GIS project has been completed as of July 31st. Second phase of the project, we will be working with Geocom as they have all of that data and the relationships that have been established in the first phase. Jackie Montez with OIT with State is going to be on leave, and London Walker is who will be working with us on the second phase. And we're meeting with Tommy Phipps with Geocom. He works with Geocom. Colorado is his area, starting on August 11th. And see how we go forward with the second part of this, getting ready for next generation 911.
Excellent. Question, yes, Matt?
Connie, did you download all of that data from those portals at Geocom?
I did. I don't know if
Awesome.
I can find it, but I did. It's
Okay.
downloaded on my computer. It will be a
So-
treasure hunt to find where I put it.
The links for access to that data will expire.
September 20th,
Yes.
rather. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And truthfully, out of the whole state, we had one county that did not submit. We went just with the boundaries, state boundaries, and 2 county boundaries that are around them. Hopefully that's one of the ones I'm kind of concerned with as we go forward and with Geocom's help to get their information.
Mhm.
Very nice. Andrew?
Connie, that was Summit County, wasn't it?
No, I said
Good.
state. I said
My-
state. I gave you- I
First
gave
instinct
you-
was to react a certain way, and we're on video.
I mean, listen, anything to
It's like shots
just get
fired.
crocheted away from Denver, because normally it's not. Could we have those files downloaded in multiple locations if that link is going to expire?
That's a good question.
I have them.
Oh, good.
There's
Should-
Matt got them. I'm sure Matt would have them and
Does the,
probably find them better than I can.
does the PUC have a copy of those? Daryl?
We do not. This has been generated as a OIT project, if you're talking about a copy of the GIS records. So we have not been involved in the GIS project since the RFP committee.
Does the enterprise have its own? We've got our own. Well, do we have our own instance of Google Drive that we could also download a copy?
We've got those shared folders for things like the minutes, and
Mhm.
would assume, Sage, if we can get a copy to you, you could put a copy on that shared folder.
Yes, I should be able to store them in there.
So what I downloaded was the final report and I don't know, what is it, County 4 or 5 associated documents with the report. And
Yes.
then at the other link in their final email to the advisory team are individual reports for each 911 authority's data analysis. I would have to double check to see if the actual feature class boundaries are in that set of downloads. Let me look. Do you remember, Connie?
I want to say that they are. It
Mhm.
seems to me that through those.
Oh, yes. Yep, they're in a zipped folder.
Okay.
Colorado provisioning and PSAP boundaries.zip. Yep, they're there.
I assume, PSAP boundaries aren't exactly confidential information, but I certainly would want to be respectful of whatever contract was set up between with Geocom and make sure we're treating that data appropriately.
Mm-hmm. That'd be up to the Resource Center board. I would think that they should be made available for the PUC 911 programs web maps that are hosted by OIT GIS.
And I agree with that, Matt, that OIT, London, and Jackie have those.
Daryl?
Connie, correct me if I'm incorrect. Do I remember correctly that the contract calls for OIT to retain that data following the completion of the project?
That is correct. That's the way I read it in the contract, and they probably got doubles on most everything because I shared back if they weren't addressed specifically.
Very good. So yes, OIT can use those for the maps that they build for us. It would be great to have a PSAP boundary map available, which is the whole point of this.
Excellent.
And then final question, is that download link available to anyone within the state of Colorado 911 community, or is it still just for the advisory group and the resource center?
My understanding is anybody that in the 911 community that asks OIT would be able to get that information.
Do you have a point of contact, Connie?
Yes, and I can forward that to you. It's
Thank you.
Jackie Montez in London that I will send you that to you.
Okay.
Is the Resource Center board going to receive any sort of final report discussion from Geocom? Presentation, general discussion on their findings, or is it just that written report? And then where do we stand on remaining funding for the next phase, if any?
As far as I know, for a final report on the first phase
Mhm.
that you received, Daryl, do you know? I think the funding was that funding depleted, exhausted from that first phase, or
This is Daryl. I do not know the answer to that question. I think if the enterprise would like to ask these kinds of questions, it might be a good idea to get Jackie Montez on the next enterprise board call to kind of talk about this, because it was OIT as the agency of record and she was the project manager for it.
Fair dinkum.
All right, all good. Thank you very much, Connie. Appreciate that. On to our grant application and funding opportunity. So at our last meeting, we discussed What that looks like, kind of the step two, once we are open and accepting applications, what does the review process, the ranking or rating process look like? So I had shared through through Sage a possible way for us to do that. That I would love to get opinions, impressions, edits on. So it was all contained within a single Excel book. I have space for up to 10 submissions, not knowing kind of where to go with that. I love color coding. Microsoft tells me this is accessible, but certainly we would want to double check that against Sage and the state's accessibility checker systems. But it breaks down essentially into three areas. The green area, and there's little keynotes for each of these. The green area is the information from the submission. So who's submitting it, which of the goal purposes, funding priorities does this apply to, and how much are they asking for as part of their project. I then have these 9 questions that I tried to keep relatively focused on a kind of area of concern, area of priority, but wide enough to be used in just about any situation. So that's where I'd love to get plenty of feedback. And then there's the key saying that here's your purple areas or what you're rating from 1 to 5. And then here's a kind of a breakdown as far as what that scoring means. What is a 1? What is a 2? What is a 3? So that it gives the person rating these some frame of reference. So you enter your number. So let's just say Denver puts in for this, since he likes to point out Summit. And it was submitted today. And this is for language accessibility. And he wants $100,000. The committee that we put together, if we are still going that direction, we talked about putting together a committee of 911 professionals, most likely led essentially as a subcommittee chair by one of our board members. They go through and everybody independently can go through and rank how they feel this submission meets these 9 questions. And then the blue area is for that person who is rating. So this was a well thought out and important project. But in going through it, I think they only need 90,000 to get this done. So that's from the rater's point of view. And then all 10 of those are coming back into this compiled spreadsheet, compiled rating spreadsheet. So here's all that information that was entered in the green, in the purple rankings, a total point value, which will then color code based on highest to lowest, what was asked for, the notes, and then what is being recommended. And then down at the bottom, we have the sum total of what's being requested, the sum total of what's being recommended by that rater, how much we have in the budget, which would, we would adjust quarterly based on the funding priorities for that quarter, and then what that means as far as how much is being recommended, how much is left over out of that kind of master pool. I know I went through that very fast.
2 questions.
Sir.
And if I missed it, my apologies. I was reading the questions. What do you intend for the key takeaways column?
So that is really up to the rater. So this is any notes. Basically, I would be looking for thoughts on particularly any justification or reasoning behind recommending a different amount. This, or if there was a recommendation of 0, especially this, if there's a particularly low rating in any area or any question, what was missing? What is not being explained? What is the areas of concern? Or what are particularly highlightable areas that this rater thinks that us as a board should know and call out, again, either kind of on the high end or the low end, what stood out as justification, as part of their thought pattern for the recommendation.
Okay. Second question. Was consideration given to scoring on quantifiability or measurability of progress in the implementation of the project, final completion of the project? And do we want to be asking for that as a condition of receiving a grant?
We can certainly consider it. So I was looking at, so for instance, the effectiveness of the application to things like the long-term sustainability and operational costs. But certainly we can either adjust these questions, we can add more questions. This is ours to mold if there's something that you would like to see that isn't addressed. I do have the measurable objectives here.
Oh, okay. I missed it. Sorry.
Andrew?
One thing I would love to be able to capture is, so if you go back to the compiled tab, I think what would be helpful for me is to also have a total for the asks, not just the recommendations from the scorers. I've been on scoring committees for grant funding before, and one of the things that comes up is that one grant proposal, they give a dollar amount and they can't deviate from that because it's a fixed cost. So, but then another, they might be able to reduce the scope a little bit to take less money. Like they're willing to be flexible in how much they receive, because everybody knows that we've got a limited pool of money, right? So some way to basically kind of capture, and maybe it's a question that we insert in the application, like, are you willing to receive a smaller amount than what you're requesting if the overall, grant funding requires it? And if so, what does that look like? That kind of a thing. So that we're not just doing our math based on the recommended award amount. We're kind of doing it based on the feedback from the requesters themselves. And then as a board, when we're making these decisions, I would imagine we ought to have some sort of mechanism. Now, whether it's us talking to the individual applicants or it's our panel of experts, but basically having those follow-up discussions of like, okay, there's not enough to fully fund all the requests we received. So we need to find ways that we can make this work. Can you take a smaller amount and either cover the difference yourself or reduce the scope? Or is this kind of an all or nothing, keeping in mind that if it is, you might just have to come back next year, that kind of a thing. But something where there's that feedback mechanism, because as someone who has applied for grants, it's nice to have that opportunity, rather than just having your application denied outright due to lack of budget. It's like, well, I would have asked for less, because I don't know. So I'm just going to ask for everything, but then I want you to come back to me so that we can kind of work it through. So
kind of a minimal amount and an optimal amount kind of question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what that mechanism necessarily is. But just something baked in would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be we can easily add another question to the application form. It would just be a matter of the wording, how to put that, how to make sure that's clear.
It could
I
be
like that a
something as
lot.
simple. It could be something as simple as like, often, we are unable to fund 100% of the submissions we receive. Would you be willing to take a smaller disbursement than what you're asking for? And if so, what would that look like? What would the trade-offs be for your proposal? And that can just be something of a narrative that then we can go through and kind of look at. And that could be a part of our arithmetic as we're identifying who we want to grant applications.
So is that something you would want to score on in this sheet? I think it's a great idea, but I'm not sure it's a scoreable thing.
Right. Because, I mean, yeah, this one's a little bit more subjective and fiddly. Let me do a little bit of research. I'll reach out to the Caring for Denver Foundation because I know they do it, but I don't know how they quantify that. So I'll ask.
Right on.
Great, thank you.
So can I just ask a question about that? So in order to, it's like you don't want people to necessarily scare them away from things or overproject, and some people may be willing to provide more information than others, but can it be done on the application in such a way that you kind of ask the question about, can this project does it need to all be funded at once, or are there phases and associated costs, with each phase, or something that gets at them breaking it down a little more? I agree. I don't know how you score and include that in there necessarily.
I
And maybe
think it works pretty well in what Michael was originally thinking with the recommended award amount.
okay.
It would just be nice to have some direct input from the applicant rather than just the opinion of the scorer.
Okay, then we would need to understand if there is some, whether it needs to be fully funded all at once, or if there's any sort of phased funding.
Yeah.
That they would want.
Yeah. Because ultimately it'll be up to us to figure out, okay, here's how much we are going to award. And they can say, no, I need all of it. And that's their prerogative, but at least we're eliminating the possibility of that happening unnecessarily.
I like that. All right, so Andrew, you'll look into that, how they do it. Anybody have a chance to look through the 9 questions? Any desire to change any of these, add, remove? Do you want more time to look through them? I know they were sent out, but
I think this is a really good start. I think after we've done, particularly when we get our scoring committee together and they go through, half a dozen proposals, they'll likely have some feedback of, these two are pretty close together, or they're hard to differentiate, or, it seems like we're missing this. So we can refine this year over year.
sure.
But I like it to start.
That leads well into the next part of that question is, what does that committee, what does that panel look like? How many people? Connie and the Resource Center, are you willing and able to kind of help pull that together with us as far as getting the word out? And how do we want to, how many people do we want, and how do we want to select who serves on that panel?
Of course, I'm willing to help. But I would like company in that.
Thoughts from the board as far as how many people, application process, things like that? I would say we don't want to go too crazy and ask for too many. Certainly, our hope is that a lot of agencies, a lot of entities will be able to help, and so we don't want to look for too many people that might then start running into conflicts and people having to abstain from it. So my thought would be in the probably 4 to 5 range, plus a member of this board to kind of chair and direct that.
That was going to be my recommendation. A minimum of 3, optimally 5. And then is your thought, Michael, that the member of the board that's chairing that say it's me, my job is not to guide the conversation at all, just to facilitate, because we're going to get together and have our own assessment separately. So, okay.
Hey,
Great.
thanks for volunteering for that.
Yeah. Actually, I was planning on it since I've been so absent recently. So happy to take that one on.
Yes, that was kind of my thought, is the panel would be the panel. The board member would just be there to help facilitate, make sure things are, answer any logistical questions, but not be a rating member.
Sounds good.
Yes, Jennifer.
I'm sure this group has already thought about this, but you could maybe get away from having the whole I recuse myself by stipulating that if you're going to volunteer for this committee, your agency can't be submitting for a request this year. And that might nip that in the bud at the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. That would be a part of it. That goes to the, if we were looking for 20 people, it would be a little more difficult to find 20 people that none of them are putting in for it. So that's why part of the reason I think that 4 to 5 is a good solid number where you have enough people with eyes on, enough people looking at it without too many and overburdening things. But thank you. Yes, Matt.
5 is the number that came to mind here
5
as well.
And that's
That
5.
would be including Andrew, for example.
So
Or
it'd be
maybe
4.
somebody from Summit.
4 panelists plus.
So one of the things that we do, so we have an internal assessment group for Caring for Denver grants. And the way we manage it is it's a pretty large team, but the city's ethics board actually weighed in. And basically the way we do it is if your agency is applying for a grant, you can assess everybody's but your own application. So that's one way we could, like, particularly in the past, we've had difficulty getting folks to volunteer for stuff. So we could go slightly higher and say 5 or 6 scorers, and then anybody who may be applying just can't score their own grant application, but they can score everybody else's. So at the very least, like, they may score a 1 on everything, but at least they'll be consistent across the board and not jacking their own score up. So if that is allowed under the state probably has some different rules, but if that's amenable, then that's another way that we could get around that. Otherwise, we might have a hard time getting volunteers who may not know if they've got an application that they're going to need to put in, or or what have you. So, and Daryl may have additional.
Yeah, this is Daryl. I think the number that's been thrown out there of 5 makes sense. And I do think that you could either ban everyone who wants to file a grant application this year, or you could just tell them, like Andrew said, that they can't vote on their own grant application or can't score their own grant application, which would also make sense. I would leave that up to the board to decide which way you want to go on that. I was going to say that if we do get a large number of people saying, yes, I would like to serve on this grant review committee, and it's well above the 5 that you want to see on there, I think it might be a good idea for the board to give either the chair or the board member who's going to be sitting in on the committee the authority to select from the volunteers to be on that committee, so that the board doesn't have to decide that in an open meeting.
I like that. The other thought I had is, depending on how many submissions we get overall, separating it out based on that funding priority use. So there's a panel just for the language accessibility, there's a panel just for the GIS, where maybe not only are you not scoring your agency, but you're not scoring for that topic, for that funding use. So with that, knowing that we have a little bit more work to do on the spreadsheet, the rubric, do we want to move forward with starting that paneling process? And if so, is there perhaps a motion where somebody would like to say something along the lines of moving to create and accept applications for a 5-person ranking panel with a member of the board as the committee chair or logistical chair, who is empowered to make final decisions on the members of that committee or panel. Or are we not ready for that yet?
I'm not sure I could repeat all of that exactly. One question before we make that, who is going to, what is the process for, or who is going to head the process for soliciting the applications to be the reviewers?
So that, I think that would be kind of part of the motion, part of the process is designating, whether that's somebody from Denver or anywhere else, who is the panel board representative to serve as that kind of logistical chair. And then with the support of, I would love to get the support of the 911 Resource Center to help broadcast that message and maybe help put together that that application process. And then that board member appointee is responsible for impaneling that panel. That's how I would like to see it, but I am but one person. Yes, Daryl?
I would also ask how wide of a net you want to cast. If it's just to the 911 community, or if you also want responder agencies to hear about the opportunity to serve on the review, members of the public. It really depends on what kind of perspective you're looking for.
Fair. I guess my question, but having so much involvement in the 911 community, what would that look like as far as how to solicit from the larger community, particularly if we were to get members of the public?
So this is Daryl. I think if you're just looking for members of the 911 community, we could, between the Resource Center and the 911 program at the PUC, we've got great contacts for all of the governing bodies and PSAP, so we could get that word out pretty easily. If you want from the broader public safety community, maybe we would engage with like the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, Colorado Fire Chiefs Association, and organizations like that to see if we could get people. If you're wanting to go as far as general members of the public, the PUC could put out a press release calling for people to volunteer, but that would probably give us an avalanche of names of people who might be interested. But that is a direction we could go if the board wanted to do that.
I can't put a finger exactly on it, but I'm kind of struggling with having folks who are not 911 professionals doing this. And part of that might be just a gut reaction to seeing 911 professionals being treated as administrative assistants for decades.
This is Amy. Sorry, I had someone come into my office, so I haven't been able to speak up a lot, but I'm free now. So I agree. I think that my vote is to have people from the 911 community, because to me it feels like they would have the best understanding of why the grants are being distributed, what people are requesting, why they're requesting it. I don't even know, well, I think it's a valid thing to propose. I don't even know if people from the broader public safety community would even have that kind of understanding.
I would agree with our charter and mandate being to impact the 911 environment in Colorado. My thought has always been keeping it within the 911 community, but I'm certainly open if there are other feelings, but it sounds like there might not be.
Yeah, it seems like to me the only other, and it's hard to get volunteers, honestly, would be in the kind of the industry side of things. And those that, companies or other that do work related to that, I don't think we'd want vendors, per se. But I recognize it's very, very difficult to get anybody from even the companies to step up to those things. So I think I would say we leave it at the 911 public safety people. And if we feel like it's not working out, or if somebody comes forward, or we could adjust over time, right?
Sure. And we were talking about doing it quarterly. So.
Yeah.
Amy.
That was the other thing I was going to kind of say. Thanks, Lynn. Was just saying that maybe we open it up to the 911 community first and see how many volunteers we get, and then we kind of roll it out from there. That's another idea too.
Thank you all. Sorry. So I guess with that, do we want to first appoint a member of this board as that coordinator? Yes, Matt.
I'll move to appoint Andrew, and then I have a discussion question for him.
Second. I third.
Second from Lynn, third from Amy. Go ahead with your discussion question.
Andrew, where do you stand, since you would be coordinating the building of the team or teams if they turn out to be subject-based or program-based. What's your thought about starting with soliciting for 911 professionals, and if needed, expand the pool of candidates?
I concur, starting with the 911 community, and then perhaps we come back and have a conversation as a group about what the expansion looks like.
Right on.
Motion, a second and a third. Andrew, any concerns or comments before we vote? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed or abstain? All right, congratulations, Andrew. All right. Next step, as I see it, would be a motion toward what that panel looks like. So taking what we have discussed, unless anybody would like to take a crack at this language, my thought would be if someone would make the motion for Andrew as the coordinator, as the appointed coordinator, working with the 911 Resource Center and the PUC's 911 program to solicit volunteers from the 911 community, 911 professionals, to and through his coordination, impaneling an appropriate number of volunteers, whether that's 5 people total, 5 people per funding priority topic, based on the feedback and rate of volunteerism, that he has that authority to begin that impaneling process.
Can I make a motion and simply just say all of what you said?
Unless you have any changes.
No changes.
All right, motion from Amy.
Matt seconds.
Matt seconds. Any further discussion? Anything I missed out of that? All those in favor, aye.
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 I
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, my apologies to Sage. You'll have to listen back to that in the recording.
No worries.
All right, so then we have our appointed coordinator, we have our impaneling process, we have our rubric, which Andrew is going to get us some additional information and direction on, which based on that may adjust our application questionnaire that we will come back at next month's meeting unless we want to get it ahead of that. Any further discussion around this before we move on? What am I missing?
as soon as I have matter of fact, I texted her and she called me, so I'm going to call her back. As soon as I have it, I'll email it to, well, I guess to
Sage.
Sage. Yeah.
Okay. Knowing this is coming, do we want to set up a special meeting just to review and make that change, or are we good waiting until our next meeting, which would be Wednesday, September 2nd?
When do we think, when do we want to start soliciting applications?
When we feel comfortable with the application and rating process. So we had talked at our last meeting, we had talked about doing a kind of a quarterly cycle. So that would be opening it October 1st, taking applications through the end of the year, and then starting the rating process in this case, January 1, the panel starts rating so that at our February meeting, we come together with those ratings and recommendations to try and start supplying grants. Is what we talked about at our last meeting.
Yeah. So with that cadence, I think wait until September is probably fine.
Okay.
I seem to remember a 30-day turnaround on some pieces of that.
That was that ranking process. So in this case, again, that would be October, November, December is applications. January is the ranking from the panel that we would come together at the February meeting to receive those recommendations.
Okay. Thanks.
If we're still good with that cadence, that cycle.
Yeah.
Daryl, am I misrepresenting that at all?
Nope, that sounded correct.
All right, excellent. Then, unless there's any more discussion around that moves us on to board comments. I do have one in speaking with Daryl and Jennifer for the 911 program. One of our mandates in CRS is that part of the State of the 911 report will include the activity of the 911 services enterprise. In discussing that, we think it would be appropriate just to add the legislative report that we talked about and passed previously as an appendix to that report, unless anybody has any concerns or issues with that.
I am all about keeping it simple.
Yep, I have no concerns.
Excellent. Any other board comment for the good of the order before we adjourn?
Will we be, that report, will we be seeing a draft of it before it goes in, or? We
I
just
know
trust Daryl?
it is circulating around the 911 community. Daryl or Jennifer, can we get a draft to Lynn?
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I thought I sent it specifically to the enterprise board, but I probably didn't. And I think the reason that I haven't yet is because I wanted to get it out to the wider network first, which includes public safety, but not necessarily only 911. And then I was going to send it specifically to 911 stakeholders. So
Okay.
I will send it to Sage so that she can send it out to all of you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. If there is nothing further, we will meet again Wednesday, September 2nd at 3 p.m. And I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Moved by Lynn, second by Amy. It is 3:56. Everybody have a great day and a fabulous weekend.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.